Just imagine this. The sun, the blazing heart of our solar system, the source of light, warmth, and life, around which every planet, asteroid, and comet has revolved for billions of years, suddenly revealing something so strange, so completely unexpected, that even NASA's most advanced telescopes and solar observatories could hardly believe what they were seeing, because deep within the familiar glare of our star, tracking instruments detected an object unlike anything known, a body moving with unusual precision, orbiting the sun in a path that defied previous calculations, exhibiting strange reflective properties, and emitting faint, pulsing signals that hinted at energy or material unknown to humanity. And at first, scientists thought it might be a previously undetected asteroid or comet, something small and natural that had simply gone unnoticed due to the sun's overwhelming brightness. But as more data streamed in from the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, the Parker Solar Probe, and ground-based arrays, the reality became increasingly undeniable. This was no ordinary object, because the readings suggested not only size and mass inconsistent with natural objects of its type, but also unusual shape characteristics, a symmetry so precise that it seemed almost artificial, geometric edges and smooth surfaces that reflected sunlight in ways that were both beautiful and unnerving. And the first leaked images, barely processed, sent shockwaves through the scientific community, showing a dark, metallic-looking structure with angles and patterns unlike any asteroid or known celestial body. And as researchers dug deeper, they discovered even more anomalies. The object's orbit was perfectly stable, yet slightly eccentric, maintaining a path that avoided major planets with uncanny accuracy, suggesting either an incredibly rare natural occurrence or deliberate placement by an intelligence capable of understanding celestial mechanics far beyond human knowledge. And what made the situation even more mysterious was that faint energy emissions were detected, low-level but consistent, pulsing in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. Unlike any radiation expected from a natural body in the solar system, and these pulses contained subtle variations that hinted at patterns, coded sequences, or fluctuations too deliberate to be random, as if the object was broadcasting or interacting with its environment in ways we could barely begin to understand. And the discovery immediately led to heated debates across astrophysics, planetary science, and even SETI communities, because if this object was artificial, it implied intelligence, presence, and technology far beyond our current capabilities, capable of existing within the sun's immense gravitational pull, surviving extreme heat, radiation, and magnetic forces, and potentially controlling its own trajectory or energy output. And while official statements from NASA remained cautious, labeling the discovery as anomalous solar object requiring further study, internal communications suggested a deep concern, a mix of excitement and caution, because understanding the origin and purpose of such an object could change humanity's perception of life, intelligence, and our place in the universe forever. And as observational campaigns intensified, multiple teams coordinated across the globe, deploying spectrometers, solar imagers, and radio arrays to monitor every aspect of the object's behavior. But even with a cutting-edge technology, the readings consistently defied expectations. The object appeared to absorb certain wavelengths of light while reflecting others, emitted faint but measurable magnetic fields, and in some moments seemed to interact with solar flares, subtly altering their trajectory and intensity, as if manipulating energy on a scale incomprehensible to human science. And amateur astronomers, following coordinates leaked from official sources, also reported fleeting glows, transient optical phenomena, and strange distortions in the surrounding corona, reinforcing the idea that this was no ordinary celestial body, but something far more complex, deliberate, and possibly alive in a sense we cannot yet comprehend. And historical research added further layers to the mystery. Ancient solar observations, records of anomalous fire disks, or wandering suns noted in early civilizations, long dismissed as myth or error, now seem to coincide with the object's orbit, raising the possibility that this mysterious body had been present in the solar system for centuries, perhaps millennia, hidden in plain sight, its existence overlooked because of the overwhelming brightness and activity of the sun. And as scientists attempted to model its trajectory, simulations suggested an intelligence capable not only of placing the object in such a stable orbit, but also of monitoring the inner planets, subtly adjusting its own motion in response to solar and planetary forces, indicating control, intent, and purpose, which led to even more profound and terrifying questions. Who or what placed it there? Why? And what is it observing, protecting, or signaling? And as debates raged, speculation ran rampant among researchers, journalists, and online communities, ranging from advanced alien technology, an ancient probe left by a long-lost civilization, a hidden solar defense mechanism, or even a natural object so unusual that it appears artificial. And as observations continued, more unexplained phenomena emerged. Faint bursts of energy radiating from the object coincided with minor solar events. Small coronal mass ejections seemed to shift in ways correlated with the object's presence, and subtle gravitational anomalies hinted at mass distributions inside the object that were impossible to explain by conventional physics. And as NASA and international space agencies considered possible missions, ideas ranged from sending solar-protected probes to gather closer data to attempting remote energy analysis. But every plan carried enormous risk, because approaching an object this close to the sun is already fraught with danger. And if the object possessed technology or energy capabilities beyond our understanding, it could pose unknown hazards. And as the global scientific community worked, some researchers began seeing the object's potential as a communication device, a cosmic beacon, or a repository of knowledge, because its energy pulses and orbit suggested deliberate signaling, something meant to be detected by civilizations reaching a certain level of observation and comprehension. And the more the bursts were analyzed, the clearer the patterns became. Rhythmic variations, repeated sequences, and intervals corresponding to universal constants hinted at encoded messages, deliberate information, or instructions. And the thought that a body orbiting our sun could carry intelligence, history, or technology far beyond human reach was both exhilarating and terrifying, because it meant humanity was no longer alone in the solar system, and yet completely unprepared to understand or respond. And as months passed, the object remained stable, consistently orbiting, consistently mysterious, its presence a silent challenge to humanity. And as telescopes, probes, and AI analyses continued to track its every movement, one unavoidable truth became clearer. The object is a puzzle, a silent witness, a potential communicator, perhaps even a sentinel placed intentionally to observe the inner solar system. And the deeper scientists dug into its properties, energy emissions, and interactions with the sun, the more they realized that understanding it fully could redefine physics, astronomy, technology, and even our concept of life and intelligence, because it exists in ways that challenge everything we thought possible. And the question that haunts every researcher, astronomer, and observer remains: why is it here? What is its purpose? And are we truly ready to confront the answers that may lie within the orbit of our own sun? And as the days, weeks, and months passed, the mysterious object continued its silent, steady orbit around the sun, a presence so constant, yet enigmatic that it captured the full attention of NASA, international space agencies, and astronomers across the globe, because every observation revealed new layers of complexity, nuances in its behavior, and anomalies that defied any conventional understanding of physics, celestial mechanics, or natural phenomena. And while some early analyses had suggested it might be a rogue asteroid or comet, capable of surviving extreme solar heat due to unusual composition, further investigations demolished that notion entirely, because spectral readings, energy emissions, and electromagnetic fluctuations all pointed to a system so deliberately constructed that natural formation could not account for it. And as scientists scrutinized the faint energy pulses, it became clear that they were neither random nor chaotic but followed intricate patterns, sequences that repeated at intervals coinciding with universal mathematical constants, prime numbers, and ratios that indicated deliberate encoding, as if this object was transmitting information, silently broadcasting across the inner solar system, waiting for a civilization advanced enough to notice and decode it. And the deeper the research teams delved, the more unnerving it became, because these pulses also subtly influenced the sun itself. Minor perturbations in solar flares, tiny shifts in coronal mass ejections, and unexplained deviations in solar wind flow hinted at an interaction, as if the object could manipulate or harness stellar energy in ways previously thought impossible. And while the magnitude of these effects was subtle, the consistency and regularity suggested intelligence, design, and intent, which raised a host of terrifying and exhilarating questions, because if the object could interact with the sun, it could also monitor, influence, or even protect inner planets, including Earth. And this realization sparked intense debates among astrophysicists, planetary scientists, and engineers, who struggled to imagine what kind of technology or intelligence could survive the intense heat, radiation, and magnetic forces of the sun, while maintaining stability, transmitting pulses, and perhaps even processing information. And as these debates continued, some theorists began considering that the object might not only be a device, but an ancient sentinel, a probe left behind by a civilization so advanced that its purposes are entirely beyond human comprehension. Something designed to remain undisturbed for millennia, observing planetary evolution, tracking life development, and possibly preparing the solar system for eventual contact or intervention. And the more the object was monitored, the more anomalous phenomena emerged, because amateur astronomers and professional observatories both recorded faint optical glows, transient distortions in the solar corona, and irregular magnetic field interactions that perfectly aligned with the object's orbit, confirming that its presence was not passive, but dynamic, as though it could sense, respond, or even subtly adjust its own position, energy emissions, or reflective properties. And while official NASA reports remained cautious, labeling these effects as anomalous solar activity associated with an orbiting body requiring further study, internal memos revealed a mix of fascination, anxiety, and urgency, because the potential significance of this discovery could redefine humanity's understanding of life, intelligence, and technology. And it quickly became clear that the object was not just remarkable, it was transformative, with implications that span science, philosophy, and even existential risk, because understanding it fully might reveal technology far beyond anything humanity has ever conceived, possibly capable of energy manipulation on a stellar scale, information storage across light years, or even consciousness distributed across materials and energy. And as research intensified, simulations and AI-driven models attempted to map the object's capabilities, revealing structures or mass distributions inside it that hinted at interior compartments, conduits for energy flow, and surfaces optimized for reflecting, absorbing, and radiating solar energy in a controlled manner, as if the object were self-regulating, self-sustaining, and remarkably adaptive, able to maintain stability despite constant exposure to extreme solar forces. And these findings ignited a surge of speculation and theory. Could this be a form of artificial intelligence? A mechanical or energetic entity capable of surviving, observing, and even interacting on a level beyond our understanding? Or was it an ancient probe left behind by a civilization whose history predates human civilization by millions of years? A silent observer of the solar system whose purpose might range from monitoring life to sending messages when an intelligent species emerges. And the thought that such an entity could exist so close to our sun, invisible, unnoticed for millennia, yet profoundly influencing our solar environment, was both exhilarating and terrifying, because it meant humanity might have been living under observation by forces incomprehensibly advanced. And as months of observation accumulated, the object's pulses appeared to shift subtly in response to solar activity, as if it could sense flares, sunspots, or even gravitational interactions from planets. And when simulations attempted to reproduce these effects, the models failed consistently, unable to account for the apparent intelligence behind the energy adjustments, reinforcing the possibility that this was not simply a mechanical object, but a system designed to respond, learn, or adapt, potentially hinting at awareness, purpose, and even intent. And while the public remained largely unaware of the full scope of these findings, leaks, amateur observations, and discussions in scientific communities hinted at an object that was not only orbiting the sun, but also subtly communicating, influencing, and perhaps teaching, waiting for observers capable of noticing and interpreting its signals. And as these ideas spread, debates erupted over its origin. Some proposed it was extraterrestrial technology, a relic of an advanced alien civilization. Others argued for a natural object so unique that it defies classification. And a few considered more metaphysical possibilities, imagining it as a sentinel left by intelligences that once oversaw the galaxy.